What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 85. We got Nasruddin Imavov going against Roman Dolidze.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back breaking down the card from a DraftKings perspective. This week we are breaking down UFC Vegas 85. We have a 13-fight card here. And yeah, a card that I'm really looking forward to from a DraftKings perspective. I think there's a lot of spots sticking out. I think there's a lot of competitive fights as well. I think there's a lot of live dogs, so can't wait to break it all down. Before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a favor, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Now's a great time, beginning of the month, to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. All content is pretty much out for the week. You got the stats, targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings, prize picks content, article, prize picks play, lineup optimizer, and much, much more. So be sure to check it all out at dfsbythenumbers.com. Great time to sign up. I think we have like 12 cards in a row, so a lot of content coming your guys' way. And then lastly, this video is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you guys are new to Prize Picks, use promo code DFSBTN. If you use that promo code, get yourself a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And I'll touch on my favorite Prize Picks play of the week. Last week we hit the more on the Bracketona 1.5 takedown. So we'll see if we can hit this one. But with all that out of the way, I say we get into it. We're going to start, as always, with these fight doesn't go to decision lines here. We have Themba Gorimbo going against Pete Rodriguez, a fight that I do think finishes. Pete Rodriguez, 6 professional fights. This guy's never seen a second round. Pete Rodriguez is a guy who there's question marks about him. We have not seen him in the second round, like I said. We haven't seen him really taken down. We haven't seen his grappling tested, at least as a pro. As an amateur, different story, but that was a long time ago. But yeah, this is a great fight to target. Striker versus grappler matchup. Themba Gorimbo, in theory, should have a massive advantage on the mat, and in theory, he should have a massive advantage if this fight does go to the second round. But Pete Rodriguez at 7K is a very interesting pump play this week, because if he wins, it's probably a first-round knockout. So, love this fight from a DraftKings perspective. I think somebody's getting served here, whether that's Gorimbo in that second or third round, or it's Pete Rodriguez by first-round knockout. I think those are 2 live outcomes there. Next, we have the co-main event. Renato Moicano going against Drew Dober. I love this co-main event. Another striker versus grappler matchup. And yeah, I'm going to be very heavily exposed to this one. So unlike the fight we just talked about with Gorimbo and Rodriguez, this is a fight that is right in the mid-range. You have Moicano 8,400, Drew Dober 7,800. Minus 325 for the fight doesn't go. I think this fight is finishing. It's like 17 or 18 of these guys' last 20 fights combined have finished inside the distance, something ridiculous. We have Moicano, who's going to have a significant advantage in the ground. That's kind of where Drew Dober struggled with throughout his career, multiple submission losses, vice versa. Drew Dober's going to have a big advantage on the feet in terms of Moicano's been knocked out a lot in the UFC, so I think it's kind of Moicano sub Dober by knockout type of fight. Drew Dober, I think, is going to be the lower-owned guy, considering money's pouring in on Moicano throughout the week. Moicano's almost like minus 200 now, so a lot of line movement there. I think Dober's a very live dog. I see this fight pretty much 50-50. Gonna have a ton of it, but Dober at 7,800 is kind of where I lean, but Moicano, same thing, submission upside there. Going to be very similar in terms of ownership, I'd say. And then we got the main event, Nasruddin Imavov going against Roman Dolidze. Yeah, I'm not in love with this main event from a DraftKings perspective, but if I had to play a side on DraftKings, it's Dolidze. You're getting a $1,000 savings for the guy with, in my opinion, the majority of the finish upside and like all of the grappling upside. If somebody's going for takedowns, it's going to be Dolidze. If it's not, Imavov's making a mistake, but yeah, you're getting the more durable guy. If this does go the full 25 minutes, I think Dolidze at the very least can last, so I love Dolidze for cash, and if Dolidze does win, I kind of lean towards it being like a knockout or submission win in the first couple rounds. So I can see myself not being heavily exposed to this main event. Obviously, it's going to be very high-owned because it is the main event, but if I had to play a side, it is absolutely Dolidze. And then we got Gilbert Urbina going against Charles Radke. We have Urbina 9,000, Radke 7,200. Yeah, I think Radke's going to be pretty low owned this week. I think a lot of people are really low on him after his debut, and I think he's a very live dog here. I don't trust the striking defense of Urbina, the cardio of Urbina, and the chin of Urbina as well. Obviously, there's a lot of things not to like about Racky. I think Racky's cardio is not that great either, but Racky does have power. He does have a submission game. He's fought some solid competition as well. So I just think this fight's a lot closer than these salaries do indicate. One to definitely be targeted though, because I kind of feel like Urbina could very well go out there, have success with his wrestling, potentially even get a finish himself. So definitely a fight to target, but I have some interest in the savings you get from Charles Racky at 7,200. All right, let's get into our core plays here. We have Thomas Peterson, 8,700, a guy that I actually think is going to be, a lot lower owned than I initially expected. A lot of love coming in on Pokes. His money line's closing up fast. But, Thomas Peterson has all the DraftKings upside in this fight. Jamal Pogues, his path to victory is literally staying on the outside, stuffing takedowns, and jabbing up Thomas Peterson for 3 rounds. It's not going to score great at all, so I'm not playing any Pogues. But Thomas Peterson on the flip side, if Thomas Peterson wins, it's probably a finish. Thomas Peterson, 8 wins, all 8 of them coming before the 3rd round. If this fight does get to the 3rd round, maybe there are some concerns about the cardio, but that's not why I'm playing him. This guy has takedown upside. If this guy gets on top, he's super dangerous. So, yeah, I think Thomas Peterson's live for a finish early, and at 8,700, I think that's a solid price tag. And like I said, I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership either. Next, we got kind of a disgusting play here, but it's a play I will be targeting heavily. It's Julia Stoliarenko, 8,200. It's kind of weird seeing Julia Stoliarenko as a favorite here, but, she's taking on Luana Carolina. And Julia Stoliarenko, she's a fighter that I don't think is great at all, but she's a specialist, and she's an armbar specialist. 10 wins inside the distance by armbar in the 1st round for Julia Stoliarenko. It's safe to say if she does win this fight, it's more than likely going to come by 1st round armbar, and for that reason, at 8,200, she must be targeted. If this fight reaches the 2nd round, she's probably going to lose. I don't think she manages her energy well. I don't think she has the best gas tank cardio, but I'm aiming for that 1st round submission upside for Julia Stoliarenko. Luana Carolina was subbed in the 1st round by Lipski, and she was seconds away from being subbed by Lupe Godinez as well. So give me Stoliarenko for that 1st round upside. Next, we got Dolidze, 7,600. We talked about him a little bit. My preferred side in the main event. I'm actually picking Imavov to win a decision, but this fight's really close. Could go either way. But these salaries aren't indicating that. These salaries are indicating that Dolidze is a decent-sized dog here, and that's just not how I see the fight. I think Dolidze's live pretty much against anybody. He's a guy that you can never count out. He's a guy that always seems to find a way to win. So just another reason I do like this $1,000 savings in the main event for Dolidze. I like the toughness. I like how dangerous he is. I like all the grappling upside if there was to be any. So give me Dolidze as a core play here. Not too interested in Imavov because I kind of feel like Imavov's path to victory is sticking on the outside, landing some volume across 25 minutes, and I'm not sure that scores too well. And then Themba Gorimbo, 9,200. So I'm going to have a ton of this fight. I think Rodriguez is a very live dog, but, up in this 9K range, I don't think there's a ton that I love. But Gorimbo's a guy that has a clear path to victory, and if Themba Gorimbo wins this fight, I think it's going to score very well. Because if Themba wins this fight, expect takedowns, control time, a submission. Pete Rodriguez is a guy that's never even seen the 2nd round. I love this fight to finish first and foremost, and Gorimbo's going to have the grappling upside here, the better cardio. If this fight reaches the 2nd round, it's Themba all day, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm going to have quite a bit of Themba, but we'll definitely talk about Pete Rodriguez. I think he's very live. GBP Plays here. We'll kick it off with Molly McCann, 9,300. So, obviously, these two have fought before. Molly McCann, Diana Belbita, and McCann scored, I think, 109. The thing about McCann is she's actually a very good DraftKings scorer, believe it or not. Like, a lot of her wins score very well, and that's because, she throws a ton of volume. She can wrestle, and that's what she kind of did in the Belbita fight. She got 6 takedowns in the Belbita fight. I don't see why it should be any different here. Belbita's takedown defense is a liability. You would think Molly McCann needs a win. She will go out there and wrestle. 9,300. I love the volume. I love the takedown upside. Some control in there. Maybe even a finish, but yeah, at this price tag, I think she can eclipse 100 once more, and that's solid this week, I'd say. Renato Moicano, 8,400, a fight that I'm not extremely confident in, but what I am confident in is I think this fight does score well for the winner, striker versus grappler matchup. If Moicano is able to get that grappling going, if he's able to get the fight down to the mat, we've seen Drew Dober sub like 4 times in the UFC. It's a ton, and Moicano's ground game is no joke. So it all comes down to the game plan for Moicano. Is he going to go out there and stand and bang like he does in some fights, or is he going to go out there and get this fight down on the mat? If he gets this fight down on the mat, he should get his hand raised by some. Alishkab Kizraev 8,800, a guy that I think is going to actually be very low owned this week. This line, I don't think it's going to flip or nothing like that, but this line is closing very, very quickly. I think Kizraev, last time I checked, was like minus 145, minus 140. So Muradov is a very popular play this week, and that's going to take away some ownership from Kizraev. I think the big narrative is, Kizraev never fights, which he doesn't, but when this guy does fight, he's very good. I was very impressed with everything I've seen from Kizraev. He can wrestle, he can grapple, great ground and pound, great finisher, and this is a matchup that Muradov struggled with in the past. Muradov's been submitted multiple times, he's been knocked out before as well, and if Kizraev's able to get this fight down on the mat, I think a sub could be in play at, again, low ownership. So I like me some Kizraev, 8,800. The whole world seems to be on the Muradov side, which Muradov's not a bad underdog as well. We'll talk about him, but Kizraev does have some sub upside in my opinion. Moving on, we got Jung Young Lee going against Blake Bilder. Jung Young Lee, 8,300. Another fight that I really like to target this week. It's right in the mid-range, 8,300 for Lee, 7,900 for Bilder. I think there's a decent chance someone gets finished here. The thing with Lee's a front runner in my opinion. When he wins fights, he wins them not only in the first round, but like in the first 60 seconds. A ton of 60-second wins for Jung Young Lee, and that's something that can't be ignored. So yeah, I think he has a good chance to go out there, finish Bilder early on, who Bilder's been not finished yet, but he's been, dropped a million times in the first round, so the path for Lee to go out there and finish early is certainly there. If it does reach the second round, I do have major concerns with Lee, though, and at that point, I think it heavily favors Bilder, so either way, I think whoever wins this fight scores very well, whether it's Lee early or Bilder late is kind of how I'm seeing it. All right, next we have the Prize Picks Play of the Week. Use promo code DFSBTN. Check out some prize picks. I also did a prize picks breakdown talking through my favorite 10 plays. This week's prize picks play of the week is going to be Themba Gorimbo, less than 24.5 significant strikes. The game plan should not be to strike with Rodriguez. The game plan should be to get this fight down to the mat ASAP. And that's kind of what Themba does to begin with. I can see Themba shooting a takedown within the first 10 to 15 seconds just because he's going to want nothing to do with the striking and the power of Pete Rodriguez. And that's what he's doing, in general. He's going out there, he's wrestling early and often, and that's kind of the thing with Gorimbo. So, and I think this fight does finish early as well. Just another reason I do like the less there. So give me Gorimbo, less than 24.5 significant strikes. It would make no sense for him to strike with Pete Rodriguez, and he doesn't really throw a ton of ground and pound. More so looking for that sub, if anything, with Gorimbo. All right, live dogs. There's a ton of live dogs this week. We'll start up top. Drew Dober, 7,800. Knockout power, Moicano, there's question marks. The question marks I have is, the injuries, coming off an injury, is coming off of a layoff. The question mark I have that I think is a big one is he going to wrestle? Is he going to come in here and go to war with Drew Dober? And if you go to war with Drew Dober and stand and bang with this guy, you're probably getting knocked out. I think Dober is an extremely live dog. I think he's going to be a lot lower owned than he should be because, a ton of money's coming on Moicano. So yeah, I do like Dober as a live dog. This fight can go either way in my opinion. Landon Quinones, 7,700, kind of an under-the-radar play here. Landon Quinones really looked good in his debut against Nazareth Hackbrast. This guy landed 150 significant strikes just about. I love the volume. If he wins this fight, you can expect a ton of volume from him. I think this fight does go to decision. I think this fight's very close, and the salaries don't really indicate that. I feel like this should be one of those 8,200, 8,000 matchups. So getting Quinones, 7,700, I think is a very live dog and very live to win the fight. How much upside does he have? I'd say a decent amount with the amount of volume this guy throws. I don't think there's finish upside or grappling upside, but if you're going out there and landing 150 significant strikes, you're going to score well at this price tag. Charles Racky, 7,200. Kind of a low-owned dart throw this week. I just think that, these two, Urbina and Racky, are a lot more closer and skilled than these salaries do indicate. I'm not completely sold on Urbina yet after he went out there and beat Orion Kosi, and I think people are very low on Racky after his trash performance against Blood Diamond. I think he's much better than he showed in that debut. I don't trust Urbina at 9,000. I don't. I don't trust the cardio, the durability, the striking defense of Urbina. Racky can crack, Racky can grapple. So yeah, I just think this fight can. I think it's a live dog here in Racky. I think he's live for either a knockout, a club and sub. So yeah, I don't mind Racky at this price tag especially. And then Blake Bilder, 7,900. Survived the first round. Survived the first round versus Jung Young Lee, and I think he wins the fight. I think he takes over. I think he sets a pace, and I think he potentially breaks Lee down the stretch. I think the last fight with Bilder and Kyle Nelson was kind of an outlier. Just because it's a Kyle Nelson fight. All Kyle Nelson fights suck. I expect Blake Bilder to get back to his pressuring ways and probably drop the first round. And if he does not get finished in the first, like I said, I think he takes over and finishes late. So another great fight to target there. Bilder and Lee. Pump play. Pete Rodriguez, 7,000, probably the best pump play on the slate. 100% finish rate, all in the first round. He has a ton of power. Themba, I don't think he has the best. I don't think he has the best durability. We've seen Themba hurt. We've seen him knocked out. So yeah, Pete Rodriguez, he's going to go in there and try to do one thing and one thing only, and that's take off Themba's head. And at 7K, if he wins, he breaks the slate in my opinion. Very solid pump play. And then fade is going to be Randy Brown, 9,100. It's a Muslim Salikov fight, so there's a good chance it's going to suck. It's a good chance it's going to be low volume. Randy Brown's not going to shoot takedowns. I don't think Randy Brown's going to finish Salikov early as well, so I kind of see it being either like a Brown decision or late finish type situation. And in 9,100, I think there's much better options up there. You got, the Molly McCanns. You got fighters cheaper that I even like more than Brown, like a Maxim we didn't even talk about. But Kizraev, so on and so forth. Themba's up there. So, yeah, just don't really see a reason to get to Brown this week. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Check out that DFS option, $10 a month. Tons of content on there. Fighter stats, targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings, prize picks article, prize picks entry, Draftkings article, lineup optimizer, you name it. Just a ton of extra content. Or if you do want to support me more, that is the best way. Check out prize picks once again, promo code DFSBTN. And other than that, best of luck for UFC Vegas 85. We'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.